Hello.
Hello.
Hey there.
So just us.
Seems so. Even Maria is supposed to come because she has the first point.
Hello. Sorry for being late. Since I only have agenda items, I think, today.
I have one as well, but it's minor.
All right, well, should we kick it off?
Sure. So I have been designing the state file versions diff. Has anyone seen the review I had with Matt, the design review? Thank you, Justin.
I chatted with Matt about it, so I guess I heard it directly from him, but
Okay.
I've not watched or seen anything.
Okay. Well, I posted the video in the agenda in case anybody wants to view it. Since then, we had one more sync yesterday because it was still hard for me to decide the diff design. So let me share my screen. I'll try to present it as less confusing, in as less confusing way as I can. But basically, the whole page has, there were three levels we needed to decide on, three design decisions. One was how do we group data and how do we present on the screen, given that we have two levels of hierarchy. The first level of hierarchy is if the type of change, so a resource was created, a resource was updated, or a resource was deleted. And the second level of hierarchy is the actual resource name. So very quickly, I explored 3 different designs for this. Filters, and 2 versions of filters. So filters, where you can filter by all changes created, updated, deleted, and then you can see the resource that correspond to the change. The second one was tabs. And the third one was a very complex indentation where you would have one container, and then all the resources that corresponded to this type of change. So the current decision from myself and Victor is to go with the filters, and it's the simplest. Before I should have said before I started that the requirement from user testing was that this page is as similar as possible to the MR page. So this is why I went for the MR page design. So going back to the problems, the second problem is how do we display the diff, the actual diff. Matt has proposed a few presentations in the issue, so feel free to go there and check out the original discussion. So his thinking was if we just do a diff, we will see many irrelevant changes because there is a whole lot of hierarchy, a lot of things change, but the user does not care about them. So he tried to parse the diff in a more human readable way. And his first exploration was to represent the hierarchy in one line. But his formal proposal was to parse the name of the resource and then below add for created a block of things that were created for this resource. So there's no comparison in this case. For updated, just the thing that was updated for a resource and not the other lines within the hierarchy. And for deleted, similar to created. However, discussing, designing the diff, I was thinking that this parsed view would remove the line numbers because we're basically creating our own diff. And then I started wondering whether users are interested in the fact that this is resource 122, instance 0, and attribute, an attribute size, or do they just care about this? So the second question was, do users care about the line numbers that this change corresponds to in the diff? And then other questions were, how do the users want to see each resource separately, like in this view? Or do they want to see the changes in the sequence that they appear in the JSON? Do they want to see the JSON and have the expanding capability here, which would not be possible with this way of presenting the diff? So I had all these questions basically. And this is where I did design review with Matt. And then I asked for feedback in the infrastructure channel, and thank you, Hodor, for providing feedback. And I have 2 more answers from infrastructure team members. And the third problem was quite visual, but again, UX related. How do we use colors? And how do we use iconography? Because in the MR page, we have icons that are specific to the type of files. So these are the most minor in my opinion, but visually they would make the page more lovable, I guess, attractive. So while I was preparing a final recommendation for the MVC, I realized that I should have a view of the diff. If you just run the diff we run for the code. So I was going to propose to use the simplest diff as a starting point and then try to parse if needed. And then maybe enhance the functionality of this page by providing 2 ways to view it, like with a JSON diff or with the parsed view that we created for the user. However, while I was thinking to propose the simplest MVC and simplest diff, I was like, what is this? I don't know how it would look. So I reached to Matt to show me. And we basically didn't get into the showing part, as we discovered there are many things we don't know if they're possible and how much effort they would need. Also, there is a component of the page that I haven't showed you. So similar to the MR page, there is a tree view here. So Matt's use case was if you have thousands of changes, this view does not really allow you to review them. So you need a more concise way view. So the proposal is to group either modules or resource types or both. I'm not very clear on that. And you have the ability to also search for resources. So then Matt told me that he doesn't know what's easiest and what's possible. And that the best way to approach it would be to do a POC. So which diff would be easier for us to implement? How easy or hard it is to add the line numbers if we go with the design that we show the JSON. Then sorting by type of change. So users said they want the resources sorted by created, deleted, updated, or in some grouped by the type of change. Depends on the way we diff them. Then Matt was wondering the performance of the page, which type of diff will provide the best performance, and what needs to happen on the client side and what needs to happen on the server side. And then finally investigate on the left-hand side, the tree hierarchy, if we can actually show folders for modules and resource types. So I discussed this briefly with Victor, and I said that parts of the page we can start working on, but then the actual content will depend on the POC. So the issue is blocked by the POC. And then I had a conversation with Emily just before our meeting. And Emily proposed something very feasible for the MVC, to do something similar to what we do for the Terraform Plan MR widget, to just show the list of resources as a starting point that have been created, updated, or deleted, and then continue on adding the content, which I find a very good MVC.
For the MVC, I would have a different proposal, because what we want to show is actually a version diff. So this MVC is not a version diff. You still have to go in there and see somewhere, find out a way to get the change values. You would just have here the change resource names. So I would rather have the MVC to have a pure diff of the two JSONs without any special formatting or anything, like something I could get on various online services as well. If I just provide so the simplest that we can get as a diff. It doesn't have to have colors, it doesn't have to have anything, it adds complexity, but it is a diff.
I agree that satisfies more the use case of troubleshooting, but it depends to what level the users want to see changes. So before, I think I should mark this issue blocked and create an issue for a POC, and these two can happen, well, not in parallel, but we cannot make any decisions for the actual content. And the POC could involve what Victor just said, just the simplest diff.
Yeah, I feel like that's a completely different POC though, right? Because like the POC that we're you were discussing before would be actually approaching some of these harder questions that we want to be able to answer. I think like diffing two JSON files is trivial. So I mean, we can POC that, but I don't know what does that tell us.
Yeah.
It might not need a POC. It might be just an MVC there. The POC is really around this really nice but complex UI, whether we can provide it all.
Yeah.
Whether it's feasible.
I mean, if for iteration one, we want to, I feel like we've done a lot of work in researching, and so like I want to honor that. But I feel like if for iteration one we just want to do a JSON diff, I can understand why we would do that. While we follow that up with a more complex and usable feature. Is that what we're proposing here?
Yeah, that's my proposal. And then have these designs used in the merge request as well. And if it needs any POC, then focus on that. Because from design point of view, I would like to see these there as well.
That still leaves me with the question, are we going to have line numbers if we just do a diff? I haven't seen one, like what is returned. So
yeah,
would we?
I spoke with Matt a little bit about this, a lot of this yesterday. It sounds possible to do, to get the line numbers. It does add complexity. So if we're talking about the most basic, easiest thing to get out the door, I would say we would not have line numbers originally, but aim to get them in there as soon as possible.
I don't disagree. And we do have some requirements for lines that they only make sense if the diff we're showing is in the context of the JSON. Sorry, this is a grouping. Also, users want to group the resources by module, if possible, which is another enhancement. So the feedback from Craig was, if we enable expansion to display unchanged lines, numbering becomes significant. If we forgo expansion and display only diffs, the line numbers are relevant. So I'm happy with whatever is possible and makes sense for the users.
Okay, so then just so I can fully understand, we're talking about an MVC using only a JSON diff, and also in parallel a POC around a more complex visualization of the diff and presentation. That's what we're talking about, right? So there's sort of two different things that we'll be doing.
Yeah, but even for the MVC and the plain JSON diff, if lines come for free, because it's the same as the MR page, I don't know. I'm just speaking out loud, thinking out loud.
Yeah,
so a JSON diff is structural, so line numbers don't matter anymore. Sometimes there are arrays though, which will have like kind of indexes, but it would still be visually represented, I think.
Okay, and it will it have the show more or hide, or will it be like that?
So from my conversation with Matt, and obviously I'd prefer that he speak about it, but it sounded like he wasn't sure if this MR diff, that if the code behind it would even be usable. Depending on, now that may have been in reference to the more complex presentation that we're proposing. I don't know about the simple presentation, just the JSON diff, but it sounded like it would just be, we'd be rewriting or writing our own diff code.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to move forward with the diff if I have screenshots of the state. like a pure state diff, JSON diff. Or if you're okay moving forward with the issue, I can just use placeholders as well in here.
I would have one question related to this moving forward part, which is that would you like to have designs for the merge request plan part here, or you would like to tackle that separately?
I was actually talking with Emily about it, and I think Terraform gives you a very friendly plan to be parsed. So I think it will be easier than showing the state diffs.
Okay, no, just from design point of view. So because you are right now designing these, and I'm more than if it from design point of view makes sense to have designs in the MR in this same Figma file and whatever, then
no, I will open a separate file and copy whatever is relevant from here over there. But the navigation will be different, so there will be components that are a bit different.
Sure. Okay. In this case, what I recommend is let's open files for the POCs, but at the same time, for the MVC, I would just go forward with the simplest possible JSON diff, and we still need some kind of diffing use. I think we probably can provide something like green, red for the lines.
Yep.
But what it is, I can imagine that we can reuse the existing code in the merge request. I don't know, Emily, if you have any idea around that.
It kind of depends. Like if we're just going to use the Terraform plan, it sounds like the data is.
It's not about the plan. It's about comparing the two state files, but without adding any logic behind that. Just two JSON files to be compared.
Oh, I guess I would ask Matt. I don't know what he's gotten into so far with that.
Okay. Okay.
I also have a question for components that will be.
I would say it would be better to have it like mirror because if you're on the merge request page and you're seeing this diff, and then later you're on the state page and it looks totally different, that might be confusing. But whether or not it's feasible to have them look exactly the same is, I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Just to make sure, one is a plan JSON diff, and the other one is a state JSON diff.
Yeah.
So if then we want to show the same view, we should investigate also how the plan JSON will be diffed.
Given that these are very different things and the structure, the data itself is very different, it might happen that at the end we can get to something similar based on the designs here that you have created, etc. But at the beginning, I would expect that these will differ a lot, because for the plan we can from the very beginning make structure, because that's what Terraform provides it as well. But here for the state, for the MVC, I really would just go with the simplest JSON file diff, and then it's up to the user to figure out what those things actually mean. So it's hard to get the two designs together in the first iteration.
Okay, that's reasonable. And we shouldn't block one by the other, I guess.
Yeah.
The other questions I had for the MVC, and I think I know the answer, I should probably remove the tree and the filtering and just strip it to version. We could strip out version comparison because it can be initiated by the version list if we add the compare with previous version action. So we could only have the collapse and the summary of changes. Up to you.
Yeah, I don't know what's easier to start with, But you were correct. I would say that we don't need these elements for the MVC. In terms of the commit list choice, I don't know what's easier, whether it's easier to just say that, okay, have the predefined action of comparing two consecutive versions versus allowing to choose the version here. We can discuss this detail in the MVC issue. Yeah.
Okay. Then I will add a design with a no diff at all until I get a screenshot of the diff.
Okay.
Cool, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay, it's my topic then, I guess, which is really simple, just that I've made the deprecation note for this release post about GitLab managed apps. I had a discussion with Tong this morning to clean up some of the details that I had questions around. And I've created a video as well. If you want, I can post it in our channel as well. I posted it in the what's happening at GitLab so that people can provide us feedback if there's something that they are worried about as we deprecate these things. The basic idea is that we're going to deprecate V1. And for V2, we'll see what's going on there, because we might just say that, okay, this is, if you don't have Nginx ingress installed yet, then this is an option for you, but it's not something that we want to push forward, because the discussion with Tong, what my takeaway is that really want to allow our users to bring their own installations to GitLab. This is what we discussed when we started the whole agent topic. And seemingly we miss basically an API to set up these integrations. And even the CI-based setup could use this API if we ever move to that direction, but Tong went through the limitations of that and what we should figure out. So basically we would just deprecate V1 apps. We would create the API where people can register the apps that they have Nginx installed, and this is how you can find it. And the CI-based apps would live there if somebody wants to use it to get started, but we wouldn't focus on that much. We might attach it to the API, but that's all. Do you have any questions around this, or anything you would like to comment on?
I think we might have some QA tests that currently use the test.ui. Of course, the UI test is not necessary anymore once this goes away, but they also might be like groundwork for other testing. It's just maybe communicate to the quality team.
Mm-hmm.
But is the UI going away fully, or are we going to keep the UI as a visual indicator of what things you've registered with the API? Like, I guess this is stuff we have to figure out for V2.
Yeah, this is so this might not be related to V2 actually, but just to the API, as you mentioned in the first half. I don't know if we want to keep that UI, what we have today, or use the integrations UI under settings integrations. Because if I think about Prometheus integration, I would say that we have the API for that. It's under settings integrations. So I don't know about, I don't have an opinion about the UI, but I would say that the UI as we know it today would go away, and we might build a UI that shows parts of the integrations page or something around that.
Yeah, I don't even know if we have a strong
Sorry,
need for
I have
Nginx.
to leave right now because I have a customer call. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just segue for Victor there. He's going to meet with the American Bank of the West about the Kubernetes agent. So sorry, had to jump out there. Were there any more questions or concerns about deprecating GitLab managed apps? Anything that we hadn't captured?
My only thought was I heard a lot of talking about Nginx being like some sort of a top level thing we need to know about, but I'm just not sure we even need that. I don't like, unless we have some new features built by release, which actually might be the case. Then I don't know. I don't think we have any like strong dependency on Nginx being present in the cluster or something we need to really actually think about.
Yeah, I do remember there being a set of managed apps that we were going to retain for now. This was based on the conversation we had with Sid. I think Nginx was like Nginx, Prometheus. Can't remember the other ones.
Runner, I think.
Yeah, Runner.
People like to install Runner.
Yep. Yeah, so we had Runner, Prometheus, Nginx. I think there was one more. I'm blanking on it. I think we're going to continue supporting those for now. So that's where I feel like we're announcing that we're going to deprecate them all, but I don't know if that's actually the case. I think things are going to be shifting. So there's certain ones that we will support, I believe. So anything else there? Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, I just put a link to the Epic. I just glancing at it, I saw like it looks like Jupyter, so the Epic may be what kind of tells us what's being depreciated, or at least what's priority.
Yeah, so it's deprecate unused managed apps. I think the consensus with it is that there's certain ones that are being used right now by a decent number of folks. So
but even the ones that we're keeping, we are deprecating the UI. We could say this, right?
yeah, I think that is the plan. Mm-hmm. We're trying to. I believe the idea is to try to shift towards a new pattern of deploying these apps. We haven't decided what that is. I know there's been a number of previous conversations about what it could be, but until that's decided and we have a roadmap, we're kind of creating the directionality towards that new version of this by getting rid of the UI. Any other questions, concerns? All right. Just got a few other random announcements. Just a friendly reminder to take a look at the Engineering Week in Review. I think that there's been some questions on how many people are actually reading it. This is specifically for the engineers. Maria, if you want to take a look at it, by all means. So, for example, reminder to install Jamf, one of the things that's in there. So, and as well, we have an ongoing security issue. Well, with the Terraform plan artifacts, this is a very old thing that we've known about. That security actually went through 5 months ago and gave us recommendations, and we implemented those recommendations, but now it's kind of come up again. So if you want to check out that issue, by all means, we're trying to figure out how to implement a stopgap, and then Matt and Tiger are trying to implement a real solution to the problem. But if you have any ideas, feel free to jump in there. And finally, the 13.7 release preparation is going to start on the 15th rather than the 18th because of Friends and Family Day. So, which is that we have a few less days to complete deliverables. So if there's anything that you're hoping to get in for 13.7, We need to have those ready by the 15th.
Well, not 13, but will 13.8 also be similar in that it's shortened milestone?
So that would be January. Is there another Friends and Family Day?
I just know it's Christmas, but I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, so I think the concern this time was that there's a Friends and Family Day that kind of like was, I think it's on the 17th or the 18th. Let's see.
It's on
Friends and
Friday the
Family Day.
18th.
Yeah, Friday the 18th. So that was, so because of where it landed and how our releases work is that they're kind of working on it from the 17th through the 22nd. So it's like some people wouldn't be able to take the day off. So they're giving more time to prepare the release. I don't know Friends and Family Day in January. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on when that is. But if it did fall within that time period, I bet that they would do the same. But in terms of budgeting for the holidays, I think for the next milestone, we'll probably just try to do less. I think that'll probably be the reality. So, any other questions about that? Maria?
Just wanted to give an update, and it has to do with the planning of 13.8. And since I'm out for 2 weeks, I will plan only one issue, or a big issue and a small issue. But I just wanted to also update you on my holiday.
Okay. Yeah, I'm planning to be out between Christmas and New Year's also. So I'm sure, if anyone wants to take that time off or any time off, just by all means do it. So we'll just try to do less in the next milestone. Even this milestone, we'll probably be scoping back a little bit. So it's just
13.8 will be the most stable release ever.
yes. Yeah. If we don't ship anything, it will be.
No new bugs.
So yeah, just feel free to update. What is it? PTO by Roots now, and we'll kind of coordinate there. And then in terms of milestone planning, Victor and I will just take a look at and just try to be real about what we can get done. So, anything else? All right. Well, I hope all of you have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Bye.